So for these 5 days, over these 5 days, you have been listening to the Mahayana Sutra. By now, you might have realized how vast and profound this sutra is. So I don't have time to teach all, and I also don't know how to teach properly. So I have taught this sutra at this holy place, thinking that some of you who are new to Buddhism might make an acquaintance with such kind of profound and vast sutra. So that one thing you need to think about is that although this sutra has been taught 2,500 years ago, even today the researchers, educationists, after thorough research and study, say that there's no sutra or the teaching that is higher or beyond this. So you cannot have new inventions or like new way of thinking beyond this. This is it. This is the most supreme and ultimate. So if you really wish to understand the sutras, the profound sutra, you need to study the shastras, the commentaries written by Buddha's followers such as Arya Maitreya, Arya Nagarjuna, and Arya Asanga, and so on. So the commentators are those who wrote the shastras are Indians. And it seems that there are also many Chinese masters who have written commentaries on the sutras, like Guinan, whose the writings that you study, people study these days. So in Japan, the masters like Dogen, they wrote commentaries. And also there are many Tibetan masters who have written commentaries on the sutras. So all these different commentaries have a unique style and unique style of presentation. So although they interpret the teachings differently, they they tried all these different commentaries explain the meaning of the highest supreme Mahayana sutras, such as Heart Sutra, Vajrachitika Sutra, Vimalakirti Sutra, and so on. So the Mahayana way of doing things that it's vast intention, and even because of that, the conduct is also vast. And also the conduct is also extremely vast. So of the 10 non-virtuous actions, except for the 3 non-virtuous actions of the mind, then bodhisattvas can engage in the 7 outer non-virtuous actions if the intention is pure. And the reason why the bodhisattvas can engage in the seemingly non-virtuous actions is because of the vast view. So the vast view basically is not falling into the extreme. Not falling into the extreme of making distinctions such as good, bad, existence, non-existence, both and neither, and so on. In the 9th chapter of the Vimalakirti Sutra, there's an extensive explanation on how not to fall into extreme. So the individual bodhisattvas have explained their own interpretation of not falling into extreme. So one of the bodhisattvas says that if one makes distinction between delusion and liberation, then it is falling into extreme. So according to another bodhisattva, then falling into extreme is making distinction between getting distracted and being able to remain in one-pointedness. And good action and bad action is also extreme, and happiness and suffering is also is extreme. So worldly and transworldly is also extreme. Self and non-self is also extreme. So to explain in detail is the form is in itself empty, and it's not the emptiness of destroying the body or the form. So if there's any reference about like Buddha, Dharma or Sangha, then that is also falling into extreme. So when you really point finger at identify the Mahayana view, then it's the view that is beyond any kind of extreme or elaboration. So the Mahayana, in one interpretation, one way of explaining is that the view beyond views is the Mahayana view. So the one reason why Nagarjuna is so popular is that he was able to destroy all kinds of views. There are many masters who destroy the view of existence or the emptiness of negation, but even the view of affirmation has been destroyed by Nagarjuna. So there are so many questions Vimalakirti asked Manjushri, but I'm going to pick up a few of them. And Vimalakirti asks Manjushri, what is the lineage of Tathagata or Buddha? So from one side, then in India there's so many caste divisions, like categorization. So even today there exists so much of that in India. Still there is a tradition in India that a person from the higher class, such as a Brahmin, cannot go into the house of a lower caste and eat food and share things with the people of the lower caste. So this is still practiced in India. So you can understand the lineage or the clan of this Buddha from that point of view too. So to explain the lineage of the Buddhas by means of analogy or example, it is like asking what is the lineage or what is the clan of eyes. So you can use this as an example. So Manjushri gave this answer. So all the worldly phenomena are the lineage of Buddhas, Manjushri said to Vimalakirti. So the ignorance is the lineage of the Buddhas, craving is the lineage of the Buddhas, anger, aggression is the lineage of the Buddhas. That's Manjushri said to Vimalakirti. For instance, if you throw away the rice, then ice, then you are also throwing away water. The ice itself is water. Likewise, desire itself is the lineage of the Buddhas. Aggression, anger itself is the lineage of the Buddhas. So there's a detailed explanation on that. One reason why this is true is that when we generate bodhicitta, arouse bodhicitta, then we cannot arouse bodhicitta or generate bodhicitta if we don't have delusion and afflictive emotions to get over with or to be freed from. So this is explained using many examples. For instance, the lotus flower does not grow in the space, in the air. It grows in the muddy water. It's muddy, filthy water, so dirty water. So the lotus flower will not grow in the pure, clean water. It will grow in a muddy swamp. If you know that this one, if you know how to listen to it, or if you think about it, it's a really majestic statement. It's a brilliant statement. So most of the wisdom traditions, most of religions consider emotions bad, that need to be abandoned. So they explain the teachings in such a way that by abandoning that the bad things, the emotions and so on, you can attain a purity state. So as I mentioned a few days ago, that in China, in some places in China, there are people who are doubtful or who are apprehensive about Tantra, but if they hear these teachings, then there's no reason why they should feel, they should have doubt, they should doubt the Vajrayana teachings, the Tantra teachings. So as they were having the discussion, then it might have been, the time might have been 11:30 a.m. in the morning. So in there are so many renunciates, there are many monks. So it is time for them to have lunch at 11:45. So Shariputra thought that it's time to have lunch, and he was wondering if the teaching will stop at lunch, and then if there is any lunch will be served to them. And Vimalakirti, through his clairvoyance, knew what Shariputra was thinking. So there's a long discussion on that. So Vimalakirti tried to bring food from another Buddha field. So in that Buddha field, the other Buddha field, which is not the Buddha field of Shakyamuni Buddha, so in that Buddha field, all the Buddha bodhisattvas were enlightened bodhisattvas, realized bodhisattvas who have attained bhumis. So there were no ordinary bodhisattvas. They were not even arahats. So all the bodhisattvas were those who have attained bhumis. So all are Mahayana people. So Vimalakirti sent his emanation to that Buddha field to fetch food. So when the emanation of the Vimalakirti arrived and reached that Buddha field, then all the disciples of that Buddha were amazed, thinking that a strange person has arrived. So they asked each other from where this person come from. And then one of them said that the Buddha said that it's come from the Saha world, our world, the world of Shakyamuni Buddha. So they asked, the Bodhisattvas asked the Buddha that what kind of a realm is the Saha world? So the Buddha gave a detailed explanation on about the things in the Saha world, but one thing is that the beings in the Saha world they like the inferior things, ordinary things, defiled things, so to speak. So it is the Buddha said that it is the world where the beings who like inferior things live. And all the bodhisattvas in that Buddha field were amazed and said to each other that they were amazed because thinking that they are beings who like inferior things. So when the emanation of Vimalakirti took the food from that Buddha, then many bodhisattvas from that realm came to travel to the the Saha world, the realm of Buddha Shakyamuni, to experience this the Saha realm. So Vimalakirti's emanation came back carrying the food. So the important point here is that the bodhisattvas who came from that Buddha field were really, really amazed at Shakyamuni Buddha. So they were amazed in the fact that among the infinite Buddhas, then Shakyamuni has chosen to remain in the world where beings like inferior things, ordinary things. So we can, there's so many levels of meaning in this statement. So from one side, on one hand, we say that this is a degenerate age where everything is turbulent, and the Buddha Dharma is in the process of degenerating or disappearing. But on the other hand, when the time becomes turbulent and the emotions and the actions of the beings become turbulent and worse, then the compassion and the loving kindness of the bodhisattvas increases and blazes. So carrying the food brought from the Gandotamakuta Buddha's realm, then Manjushri, Shariputra, Vimalakirti, and they walked to the place where Shakyamuni Buddha was. So before the entourage arrived at Sravasti, where Buddha was, then there were pre-auspicious signs like the appearance of rainbows and so on, rainbows and light rays and so on. So when Ananda asked Buddha about that, and Buddha said that Vimalakirti was coming to the place where Buddha was. And then Buddha expounded and gave a long discourse on the Vimalakirti to his disciples, to the disciples gathered there. Then when Buddha gave so many profound teachings, so many vast and profound teachings, and Ananda said to Buddha that I thought that I am the most learned among the Arahats, but compared to the wisdom and learning of Vimalakirti, then what I know is nothing compared to Vimalakirti's learning and wisdom. Then the Manjushri and the entourage arrived at the place where Buddha Shakyamuni was, and so they circumambulated the Buddha, offered prostration to the Buddha, and then they sat in the presence of the Buddha. So Vimalakirti and the Bodhisattvas and the Arahats sat down, and also the Bodhisattvas from the other Buddha sat down and gazed at the Buddha. And then when they were looking at Buddha, then the Buddha asked a question to Vimalakirti. Then Buddha asked Vimalakirti, when you look at the Buddha, when you gaze at the Buddha, how do you look at the Buddha? And Vimalakirti responded to the Buddha that when I look at you, I look in the manner of not looking at you or not seeing you. So without the distinction of seeing or not seeing, so without falling into the extreme of seeing or not seeing. So all phenomena are unborn, beyond birth. So I look at you in the state of the unborn and unceasing and undwelling nature. So I look at you not even dwelling in the middle, not only not falling into the extreme, but not dwelling in the middle as well. And what Vimalakirti is saying is that then if one can rest in the state of not falling into the extreme, in the emptiness, the shunyata, then one is looking at the Buddha, one is seeing the Buddha. So in the ordinary sense, and when we say seeing the Buddha, then we are looking at the face of the Buddha. But in Mahayana teachings, then according to Vimalakirti, if one can remain in the state of non-duality, then one is seeing the Buddha. So after this discussion, after long discussion, Buddha said that just reading or seeing or holding or owning the Vimalakirti Sutra, the merit of that surpasses making offerings to infinite Buddhas. So at that time, the king of the gods, such as Indra and Ishvara, especially Indra, made a pledge that he will protect the teachings, the Vimalakirti Sutra teachings, for countless number of eons. So this is just a short introduction to this sutra, the Vimalakirti Sutra. So some people might be thinking that it is difficult to even talk about this sutra or explain this sutra and learn this sutra. And even if you know something intellectually, then it might be difficult to practice and access the meaning of this sutra. Some might even think that apart from just discussion, then if there is any way to put into practice. So we can really put this into practice. There are so many who have done it. So there's so many methods and skillful means to understand the meaning of the sutra, of the absolute meaning. And some of this method is you can understand the teachings, at ease, without having to go through the difficulties and pains. So the most supreme or the best method to understand and realize the meaning of this teaching is the devotion, to have devotion. And devotion is not that an easy phenomenon. The reason is that we are supposed to be someone who can think, who knows how to think. So, and that's why then we think that we need a reason to have devotion. So, the supreme method is to use logic, rational reasoning. So you need to study the teachings, that is explained through reasoning and logic. So you need to hear, contemplate, and meditate. So some people think that hearing is contemplation, but it is not the case. So it is just hearing, listening to the teachings. So it's not contemplation, it's not reflection. Some might think that contemplation is meditation, but it is not meditation, it's just contemplation, reflection. So when you actually do the meditation, you will have different kind of experience or different kind of understanding. So when you practice, you will understand the meaning of the teachings which is different from what you understand through reading the book and contemplating. So when you some might think that this experience, that this kind of understanding is experience, but this is not experience. It's not practical experience. And when you meditate further, then you might again think that this experience, the temporary experience, is realization, but it is not realization. So this is temporary and it will disappear. Experience can disappear, it can wane. So now at this point I'm saying that it is important to study the logic. So the reasoning is considered one of the unique feature of Buddhist study. So we even boast ourselves as, the Buddhism as being reason-oriented, logic-oriented. So, but even logic is people's way of thinking, people's perception. So the followers of the Islam, they also think that their religion is based on the reasoning, and then our logic is nothing compared to theirs. So, if you are interested in Mahayana teachings, to know the Mahayana teachings, in addition to studying using the logic, you need to pray and supplicate. So you should accumulate merit through doing prostrations, making offerings, and going on pilgrimage, visiting the sacred holy places. So you need to make offering, flower offering. You need to offer flower to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, saying that this year I really can't understand Vimalakirti Sutra. So next year, may I understand the meaning of the Vimalakirti Sutra better. So I think that praying or supplicating is the most important thing. So practicing generosity and upholding discipline is, if you can do it, is best, but it seems that it's difficult to do continuously. So the person who supplicates and does prayer has the interest or enthusiasm. So if one has enthusiasm or interest, then so a person who takes interest achieves the goal. So if you pray and if you make a wish, then you can really achieve the goal. Although you make aspiration that you live for hundreds of years, but it will not actualize, it will not materialize. But if you pray for that I understand Vimalakirti Sutra and realize emptiness, then you will actualize your. And the Buddha said that all compounding things are impermanent. Then, so if you pray that thinking that may I realize the emptiness, then you can really achieve the goal. So that even if one is not able to realize the meaning of emptiness completely, but even if you can understand, one-sided emptiness, then there's extreme, enormous benefit in that. So once the person has realized emptiness, then even if somebody praises the person, then it will not make any difference to the person who has understood emptiness. So likewise, even if another person denigrates or disparages, criticizes, then that will not make the person unhappy. So likewise, then one will not be affected by the 8 worldly dharmas. So here many lay practitioners have asked me how to practice the dharma. So people have asked me questions whether we should meditate on loving kindness, compassion, do mantra or do shamatha meditation. And some people, it seems that some people have received so many empowerments from different masters, and then they have made a pledge, commitment to do the sadhana daily, and then they also wish that they can, they can be relieved of that commitment by other master. So for those people, I have 2 things. I only have 2 things to say. Whether you do refuge or not, whether you recite mantras or not, whether you do your daily sadhanas and prayers or not, the most important crucial point is the most important bit that you should love Buddha Shakyamuni. I don't know whether you have devotion or not. I even don't know. I myself have devotion. It's not necessary that you need to become a Buddhist. First, you need to like Buddha Shakyamuni. So there's no ritual to like Buddha Shakyamuni.
那么也没有说呢，要就是喜欢释迦牟尼佛就要有要去念诵的仪轨，并没有。当然你要念仪轨呢也是可以的。
So when you like Buddha Shakyamuni, you don't need necessarily need to think about the Buddha's whole form from head to toe. So you can just think that he is such a good, extremely good person. So if you can think and then think, if you can wholeheartedly think that what he said has meaning. And so many people have asked me that whether when you make a tattoo of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and the symbols of the Buddhist symbols, then is that you will go to hell. I personally think, yeah. So in response, I personally think that if you can tattoo a head of the Buddha with the Ushnisha of Shakyamuni Buddha, then I think it's great. It's really great. I'm speaking to the lay people. So the monks have so many things to do. So they have to do so many prayers and they have to chant, they have to study. So if you can have the picture of Buddha Shakyamuni placed in your place, then this is also good. If you can make offerings, or if you can make offerings of prostration, then that's really good. Even if you can't do that, then, but if you can have a picture of Buddha Shakyamuni in your house and like him wholeheartedly, then I would say that this will bring immense benefit. So it's really good. You are doing Dharma practice. I can guarantee this. So to like the Buddha Shakyamuni, you can like Buddha Shakyamuni once in the morning, once at noon, once in the evening, or you can like Buddha Shakyamuni once a week or once a month. So you can like Buddha Shakyamuni on any occasion, in each and every occasion, like when you are in your bedroom, or when you are going to toilet, or you can like Shakyamuni in a monastery or the sanctified place. So whether you do your sadhana practice and prayers or not, whether you do retreat or not, to like Buddha Shakyamuni is the most important thing. Here, many people have gathered here, and many young people. So the Buddhism should flourish and increase. So we need to take care of the teachings, the Buddha Dharma, through study and practice.
我们就是要透过呢这个讲说，透过修持来就是呢护持佛陀教法。那么这是
That I need not mention this. So that I am requesting the lay people, the lay followers, to breed more children, as many as you can. If you cannot bring up, please send them to me. So that your children can be male, female, or neutral gender. I'm serious. I'm serious about that because the population of Buddhists is decreasing. So please increase the population of the Buddhists. Okay, so this is it, and this is the end of the teachings.